For Daily Race B in Gran Turismo 7 this week, we're at Dragon Trail Gardens in the Group 3 cars on racing hard tyres. Nobody really likes hard tyres for Group 3, but someone at Polyphony loves it apparently. Fortunately, there's a choice of a few strong cars for this one, but as you've probably guessed from the replay, we'll be using the Porsche 911 RSR for this lap guide. There's no setups again this week, just brake balance adjustment, which I've got set to +3. Now you know what's what, let's roll the intro. Heading over the line to begin our lap, you'll want to be over to the right hand side, looking out for our first braking marker, which is this sign on the right. Once you get past the sign, you're going to be dropping a gear and turning in, aiming for the curb on the left hand side. You've got a couple of options for the braking on this corner. You can go with a big dab of the brakes and then coast in, but you risk unsettling the car with the heavy braking. Alternatively, you can turn in and then gradually scrub the speed as you head towards the curb. This is a bit quicker and gives you less chance of being rammed up the backside. Keep an eye on my braking gauge during the turn. I'm scrubbing just enough speed to ensure I can meet up with the line of the curb, and this is one of the few curbs that it's safe to straddle right across, so you can make use of it to aid your rotation if you come in a bit hot. Another thing to look out for on the bend is this orange panel next to the marshal box. It's easy to spot and makes a good indicator for when you can get back on the power. You can see I'm already on the throttle at this point. If you're hooked onto the curb, make sure you leave it before the end as the bump can unsettle the car and send you wide on exit. If you time the throttle right, you'll be clipping the opposite curb as you exit the corner, just in time for the next braking point, which is this 100-meter board, where you can use the start of the curb in below it. From there, you'll be braking in a straight line and then turning in a bit late, aiming to get as tight as you can to the curb on the left as you go around the corner. On this lap, I'm turning in just after the trees on the left, and then cutting across the outside of the curb. As you come round the corner, you'll be looking out for the start of the fencing on the left. As you pass this, you'll start to turn to the right, which is why you want it to be as tight to this left curb as possible. You'll probably still want to drop a gear down to first for extra rotation, and it's a case of managing the throttle to ensure you line up with the curb on the right. There's a couple of ways you can take this corner. Going to the left of the sausage curb is the safest, but a little slower. Going right across it is more risky, as you have to line up your wheels perfectly to avoid hitting it. However, this does flatten the chicane a bit and allows you to carry more speed. There's a similar choice on the exit of the chicane. Going to the right of the sausage curb is the safest, but you have to be a bit later on the throttle to avoid going too wide on exit. Going right across it has the same risk as before, but you open up more space on exit to get on the throttle earlier. With a long straight coming up, it's better to enter the chicane a little slower to line up this better exit. You'll be aiming to use a fair bit of the right hand curb as you get onto the straight, but make sure you keep your inside tyres to the right of this line. If you hook your wheels right over the curb and you have any steering angle, then the car will spin out almost immediately. I just about managed to get away with it on this lap by keeping the wheels fairly straight. As you head down the hill, the track winds a little bit, but you want to take as straight a line through as possible. Heading over to the right in time for the next braking marker, which is this bush on the right hand side. Once it hits the edge of your screen, you'll be braking in a straight line before making a late turn in, to flatten the exit of the hairpin as much as possible. You can see that by the time I turn in, I'm almost coming back on myself to hit the apex, and you want to be cutting right across the curb on exit, keeping in first gear to give you maximum rotation. Be careful of going too wide onto the curb on exit, changing up to second as you hit it, and then powering under the bridge to our next marker, which is the end of this mini curbling. You don't need to brake here, just turn in after you pass it, and aim to be tight to the left hand curb as you go around the corner. You'll notice a lift off slightly to avoid going wide. Our next marker is this orange panel on the left, and as you pass this you'll be dropping down a gear and lifting off the throttle. You'll mostly be coasting this next turn, aiming to hug as tight as you can to the curb on the right, but you might need to scrub a little bit of speed with the brakes to ensure you don't go wide. Our next marker is the start of the coloured barrier on the right. Again, you'll be dropping a gear and lifting the throttle, coasting into the next corner. The further you are to the right at this point, the flatter you can make the next turn and the sooner you can get onto the throttle without going wide. Ideally, you want to be on the throttle as you hit the apex of the bend. You want to make full use of this curb, but again, making sure your inside wheels are to the right of this line. It's very easy to go wide and spin out on this one, so be extra careful and make sure you don't use too much steering angle. Heading down the hill, our next braking point is this patch of thinning grass on the right hand side. Once you hit that, brake in a straight line and then turn in for the infamous 4 apex complex. There's a bit of throttle management required through this next section in order to hit the apexes that you need to, without losing traction or going wide. You should be in second gear on entry to the corner, and you want to make sure you hit this first apex. As you go round the bend, you want to make sure you stay inside the red runoff area as you approach the next turn. For this one, you don't need to hit the apex and can stay in the middle of the track. Continue the arc around to the next corner, and for this one you do want to hit the apex. You'll also be changing up to third gear as you go past it. Again, you'll need to stay inside the runoff area, but should be on full power at this point. For the final bend of this complex, you'll want to be hitting the apex at an angle that allows you to keep on the power without going too wide on the exit. If you get it right, you'll be clipping the curb as you continue to accelerate onto the straight. From there, head over to the right hand side and look out for the next braking marker, which is the end of this barrier. Brake in a straight line and turn in around the 50 board, aiming for the curb on the left. Ideally, you'll want to be cutting across this and aiming roughly for the yellow board. I'm taking this flattened hairpin in second gear, but you can use first for extra rotation if you overshoot a bit. I'm mostly coasting round here and keeping to the right of the tyre marks on the track. If you followed that path, you would have quite a flat exit onto the straight, so we're taking a slightly wider line which gives us a steeper angle into the next corner, allowing us to get onto the power earlier. On exit, you're going to be aiming to clip the curb on the left. I'm building on the power as we straighten up the car, being careful not to go too wide onto another of those dangerous curbs. Then from there, it's a straight dash to the finish to complete the lap. I've shared the lap in game, search for Gr3 71 if you want to check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.